because we have entered the month of Muharram al-Haram, which is the first month of the Islamic calendar. Muharram al-Haram, it signifies the new year. Now we have entered the year 1445 Hijri. And of course, an interesting fact for you is that the month of the Hijri calendar was, of course, decided by Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh after the advice of Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anh. So that is a fact which is found both in the books of Ahlul Sunnah and is confirmed by other sources also. So this new year, 1445 Hijri, the way the Hijri calendar was determined was done by the likes of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anh. But this month of Muharram al-Haram is an important Islamic month. One of the reasons why this month is important is because of the Shahada, the martyrdom of Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And of course, every year Muslims across the world, they remember the sacrifice of Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu anhu and the Ahlul Bayt, the prophetic household, the pure household of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And today we will be taking questions and answers. So the point I wanted to make first was with regard to the fasting in the month of 10th of Muharram. So many people ask with regard to fasting, why do Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah fast in the month of Al-Muharram? Of course, it's based on a hadith, the hadith of Abdullah bin Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, which states, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صام يوم عاشوراء وأمر بصيامه, fasted on the 10th of Muharram and commanded people to fast on that day, meaning a command of recommendability. And now, of course, what is claimed is that the Banu Umayyah introduced this fast on the 10th of Muharram to downplay the day because of the sacrifice, in order to undermine the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu anh, the martyrdom of Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hussein and members of the Ahlul Bayt. Is this true? The answer is no, because we as Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, we can fast on the 10th of Muharram. And when we fast on the 10th of Muharram, if someone fasts and they are in a state of fasting and they feel sadness when they remember al-Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu anh, natural sadness of course, this does not contradict the ethic of fasting. In fact, the sadness is felt more, because when you fast on the 10th of Muharram, and here I am addressing those who have a different persuasion to Ahlul Sunnah, that imagine you are fasting on the 10th of Muharram, and when you are fasting you remember al-Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu anh, and how Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu anh was barred from the water of the Euphrates river, Nahrul Furat. And you remember the Ahlul Bayt and the household, the beloved household of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when you remember them, you think of them and how they were barred by the wrongdoers, the armies of Yazid that prevented them from reaching the water. You will remember this more when you are fasting. So there is no contradiction in that regard. But of course, aside from the hadith on fasting on the 10th of Muharram being in Sahih al-Bukhari and the Sahih of Imam Muslim, the sources of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, then it is found in the books of the Shia also, like Al-Istibsar of Al-Tusi, and you will find it in Jami'u Ahadith al-Shia in volume 9, page 475. So fasting on this day of 10th of Muharram should not be viewed in a negative sense. It would be permitted. Now, firstly, let's go on to the names of those who were martyred on the 10th of Al-Muharram, Muharram al-Haram, those who were martyred from the Ahlul Bayt, from the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then we will look at the murderers. Who were the murderers who murdered the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam on the 10th of Muharram al-Haram, and what became of them? Firstly, with regard to the number of martyrs, there are 17 martyrs that are agreed upon. There are 17 martyrs that are agreed upon. Number one is Sayyiduna Umar bin Abi Talib, bin Ali bin Abi Talib, radiyallahu anhuma. So this is Umar, the son of Ali, radiyallahu anhu. Then Uthman bin Ali bin Abi Talib, another son of Sayyiduna Ali, radiyallahu anhu, is known as Uthman. Then another son of Sayyiduna Ali, radiyallahu anhu, who is known as Ja'far bin Ali bin Abi Talib. Then another son of Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu anhu, whose name is Al-Abbas bin Ali bin Abi Talib. Then another son who is Muhammad bin Ali bin Abi Talib. So these are all sons of Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu anhu. The names are Umar, Uthman, Ja'far, Al-Abbas, and Muhammad alayhimus salam. And then you have Abu Bakr bin Al-Hasan bin Ali. So the son of Sayyiduna Al-Imam Al-Hasan radiyallahu anhu, he had the name Abu Bakr. And then Abdullah bin Al-Hasan bin Ali. And then Al-Qasim bin Al-Hasan bin Ali. These are the three sons of Sayyiduna Al-Imam Al-Hasan radiyallahu anhu, who were martyred, who were made shaheed in Karbala. Then you have you have Ali Al-Akbar bin Al-Hussein radiyallahu anhu, and you have Abdullah bin Al-Hussein radiyallahu anhu. And remember, when Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah we say radiyallahu anhu, it means Allah is well pleased with them. It does not mean, because once in conversation with a Shi'i, he was under the false impression that when we say radiyallahu anhu, it means may Allah be pleased with them. It means Allah is well pleased with them. Abdullah bin Al-Hussein. And then also Abu Bakr bin Al-Hussein bin Ali. And this child was very small. And then you have Sayyiduna Ja'far bin Aqil. Now Aqil is the brother of Sayyiduna Ali radiyallahu anhu. He has a son known as Ja'far. This is the brother of Muslim bin Aqil, who was martyred previously in Al-Kufa. And then you have Abdullah bin Aqil. And then you have Abdul Rahman bin Aqil. And then you have Abdullah bin Muslim bin Aqil. Then you have Aoun bin Abdullah bin Ja'far. And then you have Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Ja'far. So these are agreed upon 17 shuhada that were martyred on the plains of Karbala. And then you have three additional disputed names. One is Abu Bakr bin Ali bin Abi Talib. The other one is Umar bin Al-Hasan bin Ali, who was a small child. And then you have Umar bin Al-Hussein bin Ali, radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. These are the names of the people who were shuhada in Karbala. It's a good thing for Muslims to remember them every year, to send reward in their name. And this is why sometimes they have a good practice. They have in some countries, they have salsabil, which is water that is given out to the thirsty and the poor, or distributed in hot climates in the name of those who were martyred in Karbala. This is a good practice, that when Muharram al-Haram approaches, the 10th of Muharram, the Sunnis, they give out water to the people So people drink the water with the intention that the reward goes to the Ahlul Bayt and the Ashraf generally, but more specifically to those who were martyred in Karbala. What became, firstly, we will also look at who was actually responsible for the martyrdom of those who were mentioned from the Ahlul Bayt. Who takes responsibility regarding their Shahada? What we have, I will look at the outcome of what occurred, and then what became of those who had actually martyred Sayyidina Ali Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu. So in terms of responsibility, you of course have the armies that were dispatched. Those armies that were dispatched to martyr Sayyidina Ali Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu, they, what we would refer to as Jayshul Kufa, waqa'iduhu, the armies of Al-Kufa and the leaders of those. Now, from those armies, there were leaders within those armies who took charge. And from amongst them is also the governor of Al-Kufa, whose name, as we know, is Ubaidullah bin Ziyad. Ubaidullah bin Ziyad, he was the one who was the governor of Al-Kufa, and he was the one who dispatched the army in order to take Al-Imam al-Hussein as captive, or force an allegiance, or to have him martyred. And then you have the likes of Sinan bin Anas al-Nakha'i, who attacked Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu. And other names have been mentioned, like Shimr. Now Shimr is well known. Shimr bin Dhil Jawshan, well known. He was the one who took the blessed head of al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu to Ziyad. And meaning Shimr is what some say Shimr is the one responsible for the killing. And then Khawli bin Yazid al-Asbahi is mentioned as the one who carried the blessed head of al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu to the governor of Al-Kufa. And then you have the leader of the time, Yazid. Yazid, of course, was responsible for the blood of the Ahlul Bayt being spilt, which led to major tribulations. And it is not possible for anyone to claim that Yazid is innocent. Those who claim such a thing, they are mistaken, to the point that even Abu al-Abbas, Ahmad bin Taymiyyah, he says, وَلَكِنَّهُ مَعَ ذَلِكَ أي مع إظهار الحزن على الحسين, meaning even though some claim that he displayed sadness at the martyrdom of Sayyidina al-Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu, من تصر للحسين, he did not support Sayyidina al-Hussein. ولا أمر بقتل قاتله, and neither did he command people to kill the killer of al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu. ولا أخذ بثأره, and neither did he go and wage war against those people who carried out the killing of not only Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hussein, but prestigious members of the Ahlul Bayt, sons of Sayyidina Ali bin Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu, sons of Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hasan radiyallahu anhu, sons of Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu anhu, prestigious people, the cream of the ummah and the most precious people of that time. So what is mentioned also, that some people, they attempt to say that he displayed sadness, then the question would be, then why did he not punish Ubaidullah bin Ziyad? He should have punished Ubaidullah bin Ziyad, which he did not do. So there is also responsibility on the Ahlul Kufa. The Ahlul Kufa who invited Sayyidina al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu, and then they did not support him. And this is why what is authentically reported regarding the Ahlul Kufa is that members of the Ahlul Bayt, they cursed the people of Al-Kufa who had invited Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anh to Karbala. This is why it's important for people to know with regard to the role of Ahlul Kufa in the martyrdom of Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anh. So, we will look at some of the historical events that occurred with these killers. An example of this is Sinan bin Anas. What is mentioned, أن الحجاج مرة قال للناس, that at one point Hajjaj bin Yusuf says that من كان له بلاء فليقم, whoever had a tribulation, let him stand up. فقام قوم فذكروا, so people stood and they mentioned tribulations. وقام سنان بن أنس النخعي فقال أنا قاتل الحسين عليه السلام. A man called Sinan bin Anas al-Nakh'i said, I am the killer وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ of Imam al-Hussein. فقال بلاء حسن. In response to that, Hajjaj bin Yusuf, who was a well-known tyrant, he said, this is a good tribulation. وَرَجَعَ إِلَى مَنْزِلِهِ. This killer, he went back to his house. فَاعْتُقِلَ لِسَانُهُ. His tongue, he was unable to utilize speech. The killer of Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anh. And then what else? وَذَهَبَ عَقْلُهُ. His mind went. فَكَانَ يَأْكُلُ وَيُحْدِثُ مَكَانَهُ. He would eat and then he would defecate and urinate in the same place. That was one of the outcomes of the killers of Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anh. This is mentioned in Sunni sources in Tarikh Madinati Damishq of Ibn Asakir rahimahullah. In Tarikh Damishq, this event is mentioned. Similarly, we know that what happened with all the killers of Imam al-Hussein, including Ubaidullah bin Ziyad. What happened was a man known as Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, who later, his name was Al-Mukhtar bin Abi Ubaid al-Thaqafi. This man, he took up the task to take revenge on the killers of the Ahlul Bayt. And later on, he himself became misguided. But one of those people that he killed was Ubaidullah bin Ziyad. What is narrated is that there was something known as nawasib. What is nawasib? Nawasib are those who disparage and dislike the Ahlul Bayt, especially Al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anh and his father Sayyiduna Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Anyone who despises them is known as nawasib. What is mentioned, those nawasib, they were punished in different ways. So, Shimr bin Dhil Jawshan, whose full name is Al-Dabbabi, meaning his laqab at the end, the men of Al-Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, they killed him. And when he came out to fight them, he was unable to wear his clothes and his weapons. And then what happened? A man known as Abu Amrah killed him. And his body was thrown to the dogs. The likes of Zarkali, who's a recent source, he mentions that in Al-Alam. And what Ibn al-Athir in Ustul Ghaba, fi Ma'rifati al-Sahaba, what he mentions is قتل خولي بن يزيد الأصبحي وقتل خولي بن يزيد الأصبحي, that Mukhtar al-Thaqafi killed Khawli, وأمر بحرقه, and then he commanded that this man Khawli be killed, And he was the one who took the blessed head of Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu. And likewise, Hakim bin Tufail al-Ta'i, he was the one who fired an arrow on Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu. What is mentioned, and this is in the Tarikh of Ibn Khaldun, that وَكَانَ رَمَى الْحُسَيْنَ بِسَهْمٍ, that وَقُتِلَ Hakim bin Tufail al-Ta'i, he was killed also. So like this, one by one, the killers of Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu, they met a disgraceful end. And amongst them, of course, was Yazid. There was no barakah in the life of Yazid. Yazid, he dispatched an army to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwarah. Why did he dispatch an army? Because the people of Al-Madinah Al-Munawwarah, they rebelled against Yazid. And when they rebelled against Yazid, Yazid dispatched an army, and that army sacked and violated the sanctity of Al-Madinah Al-Munawwarah. Then the army marched towards Makkah Al-Mukarramah, and by that time, what happened is that Yazid died in Damascus. He was succeeded by his son Muawiyah. His son Muawiyah was a pious man. He was not like his father. He abdicated from the caliphate. He abdicated. And then you had Saytaratu Bani al-Umayyah, the Bani Umayyah reaching ascendancy in that period. And many of the Bani Umayyah were tyrants. There were odd exceptions, like Sayyiduna Umar bin Abdul Aziz radiyallahu anhu, who is counted from Al-Khulafa al-Rashidun, the rightly guided caliphs. But Yazid died at a young age. Now, remember, there are some things to be mentioned, that Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu had a history with Al-Khulafa al-Rashidun also. For instance, Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu, he partook in many of the Ghazawat expeditions. He went to Turkey, modern day Turkey, Istanbul. He was a part of the armies of Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. He was also a part of the armies of Sayyiduna Uthman radiallahu anhu, when Sayyiduna Uthman radiallahu anhu dispatched an army to Libya and other regions. Likewise, Al-Imam al-Hasan radiallahu anhu, he also was a part of the army that was dispatched to Libya. But the Ahlul Kufa, they also had a hand in the martyrdom of Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu, to the point that a Shia alim, a Sayyid Muhsin al-Amin, he states, بايع الحسين 20,000 من أهل العراق, that 20,000 people from the people of Iraq, they gave an oath of allegiance to Al-Imam al-Hussein radiallahu anhu. غدروا به وخرجوا عليه, that they were treacherous to him. وبيعته في أعناقهم, their oath of allegiance, his oath of allegiance was on their necks. And what does he say? وقتلوه, but they killed him. So there is a hand of the Ahlul Kufa, and there is a famous dua of Al-Imam Zainul Abidin, the survivor of Al-Karbala, that he did a dua against the people of Al-Kufa. He supplicated against them. And because of that dua, the tribulations that occur in Al-Kufa, what is mentioned is that the effect of that supplication affected Ahlul Kufa. Now what is mentioned by a modern source of the Shia, of Sayyid Muhsin al-Amin, he states in his book Lawa'ij al-Ashjan, he states that فَأَخَذَ أَهْلُ الْكُوفَةِ, the people of Kufa, يَبْكُون, they began to cry. وَيُبَالِغُونَ فِي الصَّرَاخِ, they started to exaggerate في الصراخ والنحيب, in crying and lamenting, بعدما أدركوا حجم خيانتهم وغدرهم لسيد شباب أهل الجنة. After they were able to realize the level of treachery they had done with the youth, the leader of the youth of paradise. ولكن بعد ماذا فصاح بهم علي زين العابدين بن الحسين قائلا. سيدنا الإمام الحسين زين العابدين, the son of Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu anhuma, he said, أتنوحون وتبكون من أجلنا? Are you wailing and crying because of us, meaning Ahlul Bayt? فمن ذا الذي قتلنا? Then who are the ones who killed us? Meaning they also had a hand in the killing of Sayyiduna al-Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu ta'ala anhu.